Hello my fiery friends, the Infernoman here with the Gladiator All Access Event deck. So, this week we're going to be checking out once again Gladiator, but the sweet part is, unlike last time, this one again, as I mentioned, is all access. So means every single card that's available on Arena, you can play for this event. For those of you who are a little unaware of how Gladiator works, long story short, think of it as historic brawl, i.e. 100 card singleton, no commander, but it is also best of 3, yet it still bothers me that you technically have best of 3, but there's no sideboarding. Sorry. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our deck that we are playing for the event. And the deck we're going to be playing is going to be what I call Light and Shadow, but it's just a fancy way of saying Esper Control. I honestly just wanted to go with that name just because we had a split between the hero and the villain planeswalkers from Magic. But in any case, the reason also why I wanted to do a control build, not necessarily because we don't do them too often, but because the event is all access, we can take advantage of the fact that normally we have to always focus on budget builds. So this one, we go all out. We get a ton of rares and mythics in it. So take advantage of that while you can if you're interested in doing more control builds in the future. But in any case, most of our deck, if you've played control decks before, are just focusing on the early game of just controlling our opponents, stopping any of their small creatures, overwhelming them with a couple of counter spells, some spot removal, wraths, and hopefully, since our build has a lot of planeswalkers to it, we're going to try to see if we can get one of our planeswalkers to stick and hopefully just start building value from there, eventually overwhelming our opponent to either force them to concede, or maybe we could just destroy them on the spot. But otherwise, we're going to break down this deck very briefly. We're not going to go over every single card because that's just going to take too long, and I'm sure you guys just want to at least see the cool gameplay footage of how this deck is meant to be played. In the 1-drop slot, since we again have all access, we can take advantage of cards we normally don't get to even use on Arena. So we get Source of Plowshare for removal, Bloodchief's Thirst, Dark Ritual for a little ramping, Fatal Pushes, Thoughtseize, March of Otherworldly Light, and March of Wretched Sorrow. For the 2-drop slot, we're going to have Sunset Revelry, Jawari Disruption, Negate, Counterspell. God, I'm so happy we get to use Counterspell for this event. Heartless Act, Infernal Grasp, Dovin's Veto, Despark, Vanishing Verse, Drown in the Lock, Siphon Insight, Cold Steel Heart, Ornithopter of Paradise, Meathook Massacre. And some of our planeswalkers will have, for example, such as Gideon the Trials, begin in the 3-drop slot, Nico Eras with its X ability, Aghadom's Awakening, the Celestis, Heraldic Banner, Chromatic Lantern, Kaito Shizuki, Murderous Rider, and Narset Part of the Veils with Midnight Clock to hopefully reset ours in case if we absolutely have to. For the 4-drop slot, where we get a lot more of our options, our Wraths, Day of Judgment, Wrath of God are in here, but of course we have some powerful planeswalkers still, like the Wandering Emperor. We also have some card draws such as Behold the Multiverse, some value in Spark Double, Drawn from Dreams for more card value, Memory Deluge, City Stalker Connoisseur, an Alchemy exclusive card, Extinction Event, Sorin the Mirthless, we have Teferi who slows the sunset, Kaya's Wrath, Karn Sign of Urza, Key to the Archive, Solemn Simulacrum. In the 5-drop slot we have Doomscar, Time Warp, Loth Spider Queen, Teferi Hero Dominaria, Kaya the Inexorable, and Ashiok Nightmare Muse. With the final 6+ area, we have Commit/Memory, Farewell, Shark Typhoon, Discover the Formula, Mulder Kynan, Liliana Dreadhorde General, Professor Onyx, totally not Liliana, Ugin the Ineffable, Emiria's Call/Emiria's Scattered Skyclave, Hullbreaker Horror, Seagate Restoration, and Ugin the Spirit Dragon. So as you can tell, of course, just from our overall deck, we're just either, again, picking off the early stuff. We're then going to hopefully hold out just enough mana so we can wrath the board. Otherwise, we'll try to get at least 1 or 2 planeswalkers down and eventually build enough momentum that our opponent will no longer be able to handle what we are throwing at them. Of course, before we do anything else, I do want to also acknowledge that we do have one major weakness to the deck, which is, if you haven't already seen, we are very slow. Although our deck is extremely powerful once it gets off, those first couple of turns, if our opponent can easily start chipping in a ton of damage against us while we're still struggling to get out a single planeswalker, we will fall apart. This is also still, again, best of 3. So if you do have to, you can concede that first match and then kind of be prepared to mulligan to adjust to whatever you need to find to defeat your opponent as necessary. As far as the mana base, again, it's just literally everything we could possibly play in these colors. But the good advantage that we have, since this is Gladiator, is we actually can use all of the triomes, even if we aren't going to have any green or red creatures or planeswalkers. Remember that because Gladiator doesn't does not force us to stick to a certain color type. We can basically play whatever we want. But the reason why you wanted to have those triumphs is not necessarily because of their mana fixing, but actually mostly because when you get to the mid and late game, you're going to probably cycle them away to get a little extra value. Otherwise, just throw in every single thing you possibly can. Take advantage of the fact that this is an event where you get to use everything. Now, if you want to increase maybe the longevity of this, say like you already have all of these cards on Arena, then I'm going to leave for you right now, or rather I'll just kind of flick across the screen right now, a couple of Esper legendary creatures that you can use as commanders if you want to convert this over to Historic Brawl, just as an FYI for those that are interested. I'm usually not a fan of control decks, but I am a fan of doing anything for free, so I'm going to try to have fun with this. And for those of you, again, who do want to check out maybe some control builds in the future, let me know in the comments below, and I'd be happy to make some kind of budget control decks. I know it sounds a little contradictory to do that since they're always expensive to do, but it is possible if we actually take the time to carefully plan it out. Oh, and before we get started with the gameplay footage, if you do like any of the content that I do, please make sure to give a like on this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the gameplay, booster pack openings we do, and hopefully we get back to streaming in the future. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and just take this deck into a couple of matches, show you how it's meant to be played. If you do want to try this out and try to be that kind of person that has no problem just making your opponent feel miserable, you will not be disappointed.
My friend's kind of a big deal. Nature flows with vigor. Ebb and flow with battle. Let's get moving.
what is necessary. You will serve me well. I have no pity for you.
I love to make a splash.
There are some things that cannot be hunted.
Tides always rise again.
You are too dangerous to roam free. My flames burn beyond perception.
Follow in darkness. You fight for me now.
Darkness will swallow my light. My will cannot be denied. Aren't I the generous one?
Not ignore my draconic talents.
I will get what I want.
Let your blade do the talking. Show them how weak.
This is a plane worth saving. Try getting through me.
May your blade strike true.
I've been waiting for this. That's enough.
Remember your training.
It's time to give up.
When you understand reality, you understand yourself. My plans do not include you.
Strike fast and strike hard.
This is not my first ending.
This is what you get for hurting my people.
That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later!